In a limestone cave on the coast of Gibraltar, a small fire is burning down to embers. It is roughly 40,000 years ago. The people around that fire have heavy brow ridges, barrel chests built for a cold world, and hands scarred from decades of hunting animals at close range with wooden spears. They are not us. They are Neanderthals, and this cave is one of the last places on Earth where they are still alive. 50 miles north, in a valley that is now southern Spain, a different kind of human is spreading a map drawn in charcoal across a cave wall. Taller, lighter built, throwing spears from a distance instead of stabbing with them. Homo sapiens. Us. For thousands of years, these two groups knew about each other. They traded, and current evidence says they had children together. And then sometime in the next few thousand years, one of them stopped existing and the other one covered the planet. That was not a rare event. It was the last time it happened. Go back further, and Earth was never a planet with one human species on it. It was normal to have several at once. Homo erectus walked upright and used fire for nearly 2 million years, longer than our own species has existed by a wide margin. Homo floresiensis, nicknamed the Hobbit, stood about 3.5 feet tall and lived on an isolated Indonesian island until roughly 50,000 years ago, hunting giant rats with stone tools sized for their own small hands. Denisovans left behind almost no bones, just a finger fragment and a few teeth in a Siberian cave. And yet their DNA is still measurable today in the blood of people living in Papua New Guinea and Tibet. Homo naledi, discovered in a South African cave system so narrow that researchers had to be thin and small to reach the bones, may have deliberately placed their dead in that chamber, a behavior once thought to belong to us alone. At one point, scientists count at least 9 separate human species that walk the Earth in overlapping time. 9 versions of humanity, running in parallel, none of them knowing the others were the last living relatives they would ever have. Now there is one. And the strange part is not that 8 of them disappeared. Species disappear constantly. That is the default outcome for almost everything that has ever lived. The strange part is that it happened to every single other human species, on different continents, in different climates, over tens of thousands of years. And all of them ended at roughly the same time that one particular species was expanding outward from Africa. Us. For a long time, the explanation was simple and satisfying. We were smarter, bigger brains for our body size, better tools, better language, better social coordination, and the older, slower cousins simply could not keep up. Case closed. The problem is that the more scientists actually dig into Neanderthal remains, the worse that explanation holds up. Neanderthal brains were, on average, slightly larger than ours. They made specialized tools, controlled fire, treated wounds, and buried their dead with what looks like ritual, sometimes with flowers, sometimes with an eagle talon necklace, deliberately made and worn. In one cave in France, Neanderthals arranged broken stalagmites into 2 large, deliberate rings, deep underground, for no purpose that had any survival value at all. That is not the behavior of a lesser mind. That is art, or something close enough to it that scientists still argue about the label. So if it was not simply intelligence, something else pushed one species through and closed the door behind every other one. The first piece is climate, and it is more violent than most people picture. The world these species lived through was not gradually cooling. It swung wildly, sometimes flipping from Ice Age cold to relative warmth within a single human lifetime, based on evidence locked in Greenland ice cores. Neanderthals were built for cold, stocky, heat-conserving bodies suited to Ice Age Europe. When the swings got faster and less predictable, that specialization stopped being an advantage and became a liability. A body built for one climate does not adapt quickly when the climate itself will not sit still. The second piece is population size, and this is the one that surprises people the most. Genetic evidence suggests the total Neanderthal population across their entire range in Europe and Asia may have numbered only in the tens of thousands at any given time. Small, scattered groups, thinly spread across an enormous territory. Homo sapiens arriving from Africa appear to have moved in larger, more connected social networks, trading not just goods, but people, ideas, and mates across distances. Neanderthal groups may never have crossed. A small population is fragile. It does not take an invading army to erase a species that thin. It only takes enough small pressures happening at once, with no reserve of numbers left to absorb the losses. The third piece is direct competition for the same resources. which the archaeological record shows played out over an enormous stretch of time in overlapping territory in the Near East and later across Europe. Neither species arrived and immediately dominated. Sites show them living in the same regions, sometimes the same caves at different points, for thousands of years. This was not a quick invasion. It was a slow squeeze, spread across roughly 10,000 years of shrinking Neanderthal range, as Homo sapiens groups expanded into the same valleys, the same hunting grounds, the same caves. And the fourth piece is the one that changes the entire story, because it means the ending was never a clean extinction at all. They did not just meet, they had children. When the Neanderthal genome was fully sequenced in 2010, researchers compared it against modern human DNA from around the world and found something nobody had predicted with confidence. People with ancestry outside Africa carry, on average, somewhere between 1% and 2% Neanderthal DNA. Not as a curiosity, as functioning genetic material, sitting in the genome of people alive on Earth right now, influencing real biological traits. Certain genes tied to skin and hair, parts of the immune system that helped early modern humans handle diseases already circulating outside Africa, and other genes linked to modern conditions, including how some people process nicotine and how the body responds to certain infections. Denisovan DNA does something even more specific. A gene inherited from Denisovans is the reason some populations in Tibet can live and function at extreme high altitude, where oxygen is thin enough to be dangerous for almost anyone else. That is not the genetic signature of a species that was wiped out. It is the genetic signature of a species that was folded into another one. In 2018, researchers working in a Siberian cave called Denisova found a single bone fragment belonging to a girl who lived roughly 90,000 years ago. And when they sequenced her DNA, the result did not match either known species cleanly. Her mother was Neanderthal. Her father was Denisovan. She was not a descendant of interbreeding generations back. She was a first-generation hybrid, the direct daughter of two different human species who had met and had a child together, and her bone happened to survive long enough for scientists to find it. Researchers nicknamed her Denny. She is the only individual ever discovered whose two parents belonged to two different human species. And her existence proved something that genetic estimates had only suggested indirectly before. These were not isolated, rare encounters happening once in a great while. They were close enough and frequent enough that a single excavation in a single cave turned up direct proof on the very first attempt. Put those four pieces together and the picture changes completely. Climate swings that punished small, specialized populations. A numbers gap that left no reserve when things went wrong. A slow, decade-by-decade squeeze on shared territory. And underneath all of it, ongoing contact close enough to produce children, generation after generation, in overlapping regions across tens of thousands of years. Neanderthals did not lose a war. There is no evidence anywhere of that kind of conflict on the scale that would be needed. What the evidence actually supports is a slower, stranger ending. Their numbers thinned under climate and competition pressure at the same time that a portion of their population was continuously merging into the expanding human population around them. Not a battle, an absorption, playing out over thousands of years, in thousands of separate small decisions and encounters that nobody involved could have understood as the ending of their entire species. There is one more piece of evidence that makes this picture harder to argue with. Modern humans carry Neanderthal DNA unevenly, and researchers can date roughly when different interbreeding events happened by looking at how long segments of that inherited DNA are. Long, unbroken segments mean a more recent mixing event. Shorter, more fragmented segments, worn down generation after generation by ordinary genetic recombination, mean an older one. The pattern researchers actually find is not one clean event. It is several, spaced out across thousands of years and different regions, meaning modern humans and Neanderthals were not just meeting once at some single dramatic crossroads moment. They were meeting repeatedly, in different places, across a large stretch of overlapping history, for as long as both groups existed side by side. The same appears true, in different specific ways, for the other human species that vanished around the same broad window of time. Homo floresiensis on its isolated island, Homo naledi in its underground burial chamber, Denisovans scattered from Siberia to Southeast Asia. Different pressures in different places, but the same outcome converging within a relatively narrow stretch of geological time. Every branch of the human family tree that was not us stopped growing, while one branch kept expanding, out of Africa, into Europe, into Asia, into Australia, into the Americas. into every corner of a planet no other human species had covered. And here is where the standard version of this story quietly gets it backward. We tend to imagine that once we were the last ones standing, we became a single, pure species, unmixed, the clean end result of everyone else's failure. That framing is wrong, and the DNA proves it directly. Because of how Neanderthal DNA spread and multiplied through billions of descendants over 40,000 years, geneticists estimate that there is more total Neanderthal DNA alive in human bodies today, spread across the whole world, than existed in every Neanderthal who was ever alive at any single point in their own history. They are not gone. They are diluted past the point of being their own species, but they are physically here, right now, in measurable amounts, in a large percentage of the people currently reading a screen, breathing, thinking, existing. We tell this story as though something separate from us disappeared and left us standing alone. The truth is closer to the opposite. We did not outlast the other human species so much as we absorbed the last of them, thousands of years and countless small unrecorded encounters at a time, until there was only one kind of human left to tell the story at all. And that one kind is carrying pieces of every version that came before it, whether it realizes it or not.